unleashed Hollywood news. In 1991, in a quiet studio in Sausalito, California, a moment happened that has remained hidden from the public eye for decades, until now. It's a story buried in the early memories of Solange Knowles, revealed by none other than her mother, Tina Knowles, in her memoir Matriarch. Solange, just 5 years old at the time, was already showing signs of her fearless, free-spirited personality. She was in California with her mother and her older sister Beyoncé's then-girl group, Girls' Time, the early formation of what would later become Destiny's Child. They were in town to record demos, working toward what would eventually be global stardom. But on that day, Solange would cross paths with someone who had no idea just how famous she would become, and he too was on the brink of legend. Tina Knowles describes young Solange as a confident wanderer, a child full of curiosity, adventure, and a magnetic personality that naturally drew people in. That day she wandered off. And in a mother's worst fear moment, Tina realized her daughter was missing. Frantic, she began searching the halls of the studio, checking restrooms, calling out for her child. As she made her way deeper into the building, her concern mounted, until she stumbled upon a scene that completely caught her off guard. Solange was sitting comfortably in a chair, completely relaxed, smiling wide and chatting animatedly. But it wasn't just any casual conversation. She was talking to two young men who, according to Tina, were smoking Marin County's entire supply of weed. These weren't just any local musicians or hangers-on. One of them was Tupac Shakur. Yes, that Tupac. Years before All Eyes on Me, before California Love, before he became a cultural icon and tragically lost his life in 1996, Tupac, just a rising figure in hip-hop, found himself completely captivated by a 5-year-old girl who had wandered into his world and decided to sit down and talk. Tina described the scene with a mixture of disbelief and humor. Solange, fully in her element, was talking, dancing, and laughing. Shock G, another rising star and Tupac's mentor from Digital Underground, was also present, laughing along and enjoying the interaction. Tupac, meanwhile, was smiling and watching her in fascination. When Tina walked in, unsure whether to be mad or amazed, Tupac simply said, "She's a trip." He didn't stop there. He turned to Tina and said, "She's really special." That moment stuck with Tina. Years later, she would write about it in Matriarch, not just because of the celebrities involved, but because it represented something timeless. A raw, human moment that showed just how unique Solange was even as a child. At the time, Tupac wasn't yet the global legend he would soon become. He was still on his way up, performing with Digital Underground, writing lyrics that would later become part of the cultural fabric. He was intellectual, rebellious, and charismatic, but even he took a pause to admire the charm and energy of a little girl who clearly wasn't intimidated by anyone or anything. It wasn't just that she talked to him. It was how she talked to him. With no fear, no filters, just that bright, confident energy that would come to define Solange's entire career. Years later, Beyoncé would reflect on that moment and laugh. She joked that Solange had probably been telling Tupac all about her and their family. The idea of her baby sister holding court with one of hip-hop's greatest voices amused her, but it also made sense. That's just who Solange was even then. Observant, playful, candid. She didn't just enter a room. She owned it even at 5. The story might have stayed a private family anecdote if not for Tina's decision to finally tell her own story. In her memoir, she admitted she was hesitant to write it at first. She believed people would only want to know about her famous daughters, Beyoncé and Solange, and not her life. But eventually she realized that her story was important. It mattered to her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, and to anyone trying to understand where icons like Beyoncé and Solange came from. So she began writing. And in doing so, she unearthed memories like that day in Sausalito. It wasn't just a funny story, it was a moment that captured the essence of a little girl who would grow up to become one of the most unique voices in modern music and culture. Solange Knowles has always been different. While Beyoncé became the global pop phenomenon, Solange carved out her own space, rooted in art, activism, and emotional expression. She's not the type to chase the spotlight. Instead, she lets the spotlight follow her. With albums like A Seat at the Table and When I Get Home, Solange became more than just Beyoncé's sister. She became a force in her own right, poetic, powerful, and always marching to the beat of her own drum. That same spirit, the one that captivated Tupac when she was just a kid, never left her. It only grew stronger, matured. It evolved, but it never disappeared. And when you think about it, it's poetic. Two icons, one from the golden era of hip-hop, the other from a new wave of genre-bending soul, sharing a moment long before the world knew who either of them truly was. Tina's memoir reminds us of something important. Behind every public figure, behind every celebrity, there are layers of history, family, and memories. And sometimes, those hidden stories are the ones that tell us the most. Solange's moment with Tupac wasn't captured on camera. There's no video, no recording, just the memory passed down through Tina, written in ink, preserved for us to imagine. But the impact of it lingers. Because it shows us how authenticity, even at 5 years old, can leave a lasting impression. It shows us that Solange has always been the same, bold, brilliant, unafraid. And it shows us that even legends like Tupac could recognize magic when they saw it. Unleashed Hollywood News will continue to bring you stories like these, stories that pull back the curtain, shine a light on the unseen, and remind us that some of the most unforgettable moments in entertainment history happen when no one's watching. Stay tuned for more, because the untold stories never stop.